Hi, welcome back to Purpose Driven Church for Unificationists. This is day 67, and we're still on the chapter of turning members into ministers. We're talking about ministries, we're talking about practical steps on how to help people to have their own ministry. He's talking a little bit here about how you have to allow people to quit or change ministries gracefully. He says, to resign from a ministry in some churches, you've either got to die, leave the church, or be willing to live with intense guilt. We need to allow people to take sabbaticals or change ministries without feeling guilty. If someone doesn't enjoy or fit a particular ministry, they're encouraged to change to another one without shame or embarrassment. As I said earlier, we believe that experimenting with different ministries is the best way to discover your gifts. Although we usually ask for a 1-year commitment to a ministry, we never enforce it. If people realize they are mismatched, we don't make them feel guilty for resigning. Anyway, it kind of goes back to the thing they were talking about before about how sometimes in order to discover your ministry, you have to try different ministries first, to try different things, see where your gifts are at and your passions are at. So obviously, if that's the case, then they can't tie someone down to a ministry if they don't really feel that it's working after a certain period of time. He also talks about trusting people and delegating authority with responsibility. I pretty much highlighted this whole section. I don't know if I'm just going to read it, but I'm just going to go through a lot of it real quick. He says the secret of motivating people into serving over an extended period of time is to give them a sense of ownership. I want to repeat that as much as possible. You need to allow the people leading each ministry to make their own decisions without interference from some governing board or committee. For instance, allow those in the nursery ministry to decide what the rooms look like, the type of cribs to be used, how many are purchased, and the system used to check children in and out. The people actually involved in the ministry will make more informed decisions than some general board that is trying to control everything from a distance. People respond to a responsibility. They thrive and grow when you trust them. At Saddleback, each lay ministry is assigned the staff liaison, but as much as possible, we stay out of their way. Conversely, says if you treat people like incompetent babies, you'll have to diaper and feed them the rest of your life. He says, expect the best of your people and trust them with ministry. Many churches are so afraid of wildfire that they spend all their time putting out every little campfire that'll warm up the church. If you're a pastor, let others make some of the mistakes. Don't insist on making them all yourself. You bring out the best in people by giving them a challenge, giving them control, and giving them the credit. At the beginning of Saddleback, Kay and I literally helped with every job in the church, setting up the facilities, taking them down, printing bulletins, cleaning bathrooms, making coffee, making name tags, and so on and so on. I stored all our equipment, cribs, sound system, and so forth in my garage. Every Sunday morning, I borrowed a truck to haul that equipment to the school we were renting. In the first year, I often worked 15 hours a day, and I loved every minute of it. But by the time Saddleback was just a few years old, I found myself running out of energy. The church had grown to several hundred people, and I was still trying to be involved in every aspect and detail of the ministry. I was burning out physically and emotionally. At a midweek service, I confessed to our congregation that I was exhausted and I couldn't continue to lead the church and be involved in all the ministries at the same time. I went on to say that God didn't expect me to do all the ministry. The Bible is very clear that the pastor's job is to equip members for their ministry. I said, I'll make you a deal. If you agree to do the ministry of this church, I'll make sure you're well fed. The people liked that deal. And that night we signed a covenant that from that day forward, they would do the ministry and I would feed and lead them. After making this decision, Saddleback exploded with growth. From the first day of Saddleback, my plan has always been to give the ministry away. Whenever a new church is started, the pastor usually holds it together in the early days, but the goal must be to wean the church from dependence on the pastor for ministry as quickly as possible. Today, I only have 2 primary responsibilities, to lead and to feed, and even those responsibilities are now shared with 6 other pastors. Why? Because I deeply believe the church was never meant to be a one-man superstar show. We've all seen what happens when a prominent ministry is built around a single individual. If that person dies, moves, or has a moral failure, the ministry collapses. If I were to die today, Saddleback would continue growing because it is purpose-driven, not personality-driven. Might lose 1,000 people or so, people who are fringe attenders who like to hear me speak, but that would still leave thousands of dedicated members of the congregation committed and core. So a lot of food for thought there. Definitely a lot of food for thought for me moving forward. So hope you got something out of that. And thanks a lot, and I'll see you tomorrow.